On September 23rd, 2024, thousands of Coldplay fans across India were eagerly waiting to grab their tickets on Book My Show. As the clock hit 12 pm, everyone clicked buy now at the same moment. And then the website crashed. Why did this happen? What went wrong with Book My Show's system? In this video, we are not only going to learn about some important system design concepts, but we will also discuss possible solutions so that if you ever find yourself in a similar situation, you won't regret it. So let's dive in and find out. Imagine a large crowd rushing through a single door. When an event like a ticket sale starts, everyone tries to access the system at the same time. This sudden rush of people can overload the servers, causing the service to slow down or even crash. This problem is called the thundering herd problem. Think of a mall having a big sale. When the doors open, a huge crowd of shoppers rushes in all at once. This can create bottlenecks at the entrance and inside the mall, making it hard for anyone to move around or get to the stores they want. Just like the servers that can't handle too many users at once. To understand how we can mitigate this issue, let's break down the system's components involved in handling ticket sales. In most ticketing systems, there is a component called a load balancer. Think of this as a traffic police that directs incoming requests to multiple servers. This ensures that no single server gets overwhelmed by too many requests at once. Now, let's say we have 3 servers. Each of these servers has its own thread pool, which is a group of worker threads ready to handle incoming requests. You can imagine this thread pool as a team of workers who are prepared to tackle requests as they come in. Alongside the thread pools, each server also has a request queue. This queue is where incoming requests wait their turn to be processed, much like a line at movie ticket counter. Here is how it all works together. When people try to buy tickets, the load balancer receives all the requests first. It then distributes these requests across the 3 servers, sending some to each one. Once a request reaches a server, it goes into the request queue if all the threads in the thread pool are busy. As threads become available, they pull requests from the queue to process them. However, if the number of requests coming in is greater than what the thread pools and queues can handle, the system will start to experience problems. This can lead to slow response times or even failures, as the servers can't keep up with the demand. Let's say each server has a thread pool size of 100 and a request queue length of 1000. Once the queue is full, any new requests are rejected. To understand why this happens, let's look at some basic math. Assume each server can process a request in 100 milliseconds, that is 0.1 seconds. That means each server can process 10 requests per second. If there are 3 servers, the combined system can handle 30 requests per second. Now imagine thousands of users trying to access the system at the same time, sending hundreds of requests per second. If the system receives 1000 requests per second but can only handle 30, a huge backlog starts building up in the queue. Let's say the system has a queue size of 1000. At 1000 requests per second, the queue fills up in just 1 second. After this, any additional requests are rejected because the system can no longer accept more traffic. At this point, users get frustrated and retry, or worse, the system itself retries automatically. This creates a stream of requests that just keeps growing. Here is a math behind why this is problematic. Imagine each user retries after a failure every 500 milliseconds, that is 0.5 seconds. If 1000 users are retrying every 0.5 seconds, that's an additional 2000 requests per second on the top of the original 1000. This means the system now has to handle 3000 requests per second. Clearly, the system is now dealing with 100 times more requests it can handle, causing total system collapse. One way to solve the issue of overwhelming servers during high demand is by using exponential backoff with jitter. Instead of retrying immediately after a failure, users wait increasingly longer times before attempting to retry. Let's break down how this works. In exponential backoff, the wait time between retries increases exponentially with each failure. The idea is to allow the system more time to recover from the issue before retrying. Here is how the math works. Let's define T0 as the initial wait time after the first failure. This is the time the system will wait before the first retry. After each subsequent failure, the wait time doubles. The formula to calculate the wait time for the nth try is this. Here n is the number of failed attempts. Tn is the wait time before the nth try. For example, if the initial wait time T0 is 200 milliseconds, after 3 retries, it will be this. This approach gives the system more time to recover between retries, reducing the chances of repeated failures due to overwhelming load. However, even with the exponential backoff, if many users try to retry at the same time, it can still cause a surge of requests. To prevent this, we introduce jitter, a random variation in the wait time. The addition of jitter ensures that retries don't happen at the exact same time, spreading out the requests and further reducing the load on the servers. The formula for calculating the wait time with jitter is this. Max wait time. This is the maximum limit for the wait time to prevent excessively long delays. This generates a random wait time between 0 and the calculated exponential back of time, ensuring some randomness in the wait time. Let's say initial wait time T0 is 200 milliseconds, maximum wait time is 4000 milliseconds, and after 3 retries, the exponential back of wait time will be 1600 milliseconds. Suppose the random wait time generated is between 0 and 1600 milliseconds. Let's say the random function generates 900 milliseconds. Now we apply the jitter formula and we got 900 milliseconds. In this case, the final wait time before the next retry is 900 milliseconds instead of 1600 milliseconds. This randomness helps distribute the retry attempts over time. After the system signals the need to retry, some users may attempt to retry after the calculated wait time of 900 milliseconds. However, others might receive different random wait times such as 400 milliseconds or 1200 milliseconds. This variation in retry attempts allows the server to handle requests more smoothly. By applying these strategies, we not only prevent system crashes but also give users a smoother, more predictable experience, so everyone has a fair shot at getting those Coldplay tickets.